Breaking right now, the net closing on Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor in an extraordinary development that will rock the British royal family to its core. Thames Valley Police have in the past hour confirmed that they are now in direct communication with British prosecutors, which suggests an official investigation into Andrew is underway, and he could well now end up, well, potentially in a jail cell. That's where this is heading. Now, what's going to be very ironic and upsetting to a lot of people in regards to this is that it's a bit like Al Capone. They're not really getting Andrew, at this point at least, on the claims of sex trafficking and underage sex or any of the Virginia Giuffre allegations. This is rather about misconduct in public office. This is about the fact that he was forwarding sensitive government information, classified government information, to Jeffrey Epstein, the world's most notorious paedophile. And it's going to be very difficult for Andrew to deny this, just like it's going to be very difficult for Peter Mandelson, the former UK ambassador to the USA, to do the same thing. But let me take you through this fast developing story, because as Tom Sykes has just published on the Royalist Substack, this is now a major update on the police case against Andrew. He poses the question, could His Majesty's brother end up in His Majesty's prison? Don't bet against it. His reporting is that Thames Valley Police are stepping up their investigation of ex-Prince Andrew and have called in specialist investigators. Now, I want to take you through this full statement from the Thames Valley Police because I want to be completely transparent with you in terms of what we know. And I will also be honest that this statement is odd. It's a little bit weird. The police clearly aren't at the point where they are ready to quite blow the whistle yet on the fact that they are investigating Andrew, because of course if they are, there will be questions about why has his house not been searched, why has he not been arrested. But this is a long statement from Thames Valley Police Assistant Chief Constable Oliver Wright. Let me take you through it. We can confirm today, the 11th of February, that Thames Valley Police is leading the ongoing assessment of allegations relating to misconduct in public office. This specifically relates to documents within the United States Department of Justice's Epstein files. As part of this assessment, we have engaged in discussions with specialist Crown prosecutors from the CPS. We will provide updates as and when they are available, but at this stage, it would be inappropriate to discuss further specifics of this work. During an assessment phase, information is evaluated to determine whether a criminal offence is suspected and whether a full investigation is required. Allegations of misconduct in public office involve particular complexities, and therefore an assessment must be conducted carefully and thoroughly. While we cannot provide timescales over when a decision as to whether a criminal investigation will be opened, we can assure you that Thames Valley Police is making progress as quickly as possible. And Tom Sykes' reading of this is that documents have revealed the disgraced former prince passed on an email containing at least 4 documents in 2010 while acting as a UK global trade envoy. He forwarded the attachments within minutes of receiving them on November the 30th, 2010, while he was visiting Epstein at his New York apartment. Under official guidance, envoys have a duty of confidentiality over sensitive, commercial, or political information relating to official visits. And of course, this new statement from the police comes after King Charles effectively gave the police carte blanche to go for his brother. But this was something he was forced into after a long time, with the Buckingham Palace spokesman saying the king has made clear in words and through unprecedented actions his profound concern at allegations which continue to come to light in respect of Mr. Mountbatten-Windsor's conduct. While the specific claims in question are for Mr. Mountbatten-Windsor to address, if we are approached by Thames Valley Police, we stand ready to support them as you would expect. As was previously stated, Their Majesty's thoughts and sympathies have been and remain with the victims of any and all forms of abuse. But things aren't going to get easier for King Charles now. Andrew Lowney, the author of Entitled, the bombshell biography of Andrew, which started this whole new train in motion, has suggested that he needs to abdicate. That the only way out of this for the monarch is to hand over the reins to Prince William, who is clean in all of this, who is not engaged in any cover-up. This is what Mr. Lowney had to say to Jeremy Kyle on Talk. Watch.
You talked earlier about, and I asked you, could this lead to the end of the King's reign? And you said yes. Many people texting me this morning saying the only way out of this for the monarchy is for King Charles to abdicate and pass the throne to William and start a new era. Is the future King William implicated at all, do you feel? Could he be held responsible with an overview of the monarchy, or would that be a clean break in your mind?
I think that would be a clean break. I think that we're moving towards that position just because of the cack-handed way that they've dealt with it. I don't think William knew. I certainly don't think he can be blamed for anything. I think he's tried to interfere. Clearly there's a hierarchy there and he can only do so much. It's Charles and I'm afraid the former Queen who really have the questions to answer.
And also you said yesterday, let's not forget the images of King Charles years ago with £3 million in plastic bags from donors across the Middle East. That's a fact, right? It's a fact.
Yes. I think, there are questions, I'm afraid, for the King and his dealings in the Middle East and to support Dumfries House. William, seems to be clean. And I do think we are moving to a position where the easiest thing would be for the King to abdicate.
So this is a story moving at a pace which is really difficult to keep up with. Father Calvin Robinson and Emma Kenny with me now. Father Calvin, it's quite extraordinary to think we're in a situation where the Thames Valley Police are already engaging with the Crown Prosecution Service. I think this is only heading in one direction, Father Calvin. Do you? I can't see how the CPS come back and say, don't investigate.
No, this is all very, very serious. From my own reading of the Epstein files, it seems that it's alleged that Prince Andrew tortured a girl and forced someone else to murder this girl. That's a serious allegation that needs a proper investigation. And it seems that royal aides were on the island with Prince Andrew, a protection detail. And so there are people that can be questioned other than Prince Andrew himself. And of course, the ties to his brother, the king, are too close. And we obviously know that the Queen, the late Queen, God rest her soul, has tried to cover this up and pay off the investigation as well to protect her own sons. But it's gone beyond all of that now, that the King Charles needs to step aside, otherwise the entire monarchy itself is at risk. It seems that seeing that Prince Andrew may have said to Jeffrey Epstein, we're all in this together, or we're in this together, is damning. And so whatever investigation drags down Prince Andrew is probably going to drag down his brother, King Charles, at this point, unless he manages to step aside and give the throne over to his son. But I don't think he's going to want to do that. He's waited his entire life for this role. I don't think he's going to give it up very easily.
No, indeed. Look, there's lots to pick up on there, and I do want to respond specifically to some of those claims about Queen Elizabeth II. I have a slightly different take. But first, in terms of the darkness of what you're suggesting, Father Calvin, you're absolutely right. There are murder claims in the Epstein files. Surely they should be investigated. But Emma, Andrew Lowney, who we just saw there suggesting that Charles may have to abdicate, has also gone public now with claims that there could even be bodies buried within royal estates. Now, it's a huge allegation, but again, I've got to stay open-minded to all of this, given the horrors of what we're seeing in the Epstein files. But before I get you to Wayne, I just want to show you what he told the Mike Graham show.
Stories of for example, two girls who may have been killed in rough sex buried on a golf course. I understand Surrey police have approached the FBI about a story connected with Prince Andrew. There's bodies being found on royal estates. So this is getting darker and darker.
I mean, Emma, look, we've got to be careful, okay? Because these are huge allegations. But what's your view on just how serious this is now getting and how implicated King Charles could be?
First of all, I'm glad it's getting serious because I think the public have had enough of people in powerful positions being able to do whatever they want and getting away with it.
Yeah.
Secondly, I think the classic term heads will roll probably is directed at Andrew right now because they're going to want somebody who has to take the rap so that the public is satisfied to some degree that some kind of work has happened around the criminality potential. The bigger thing for me, though, is this is just more of the same. And I think that most human beings, we go through our life with that myth of security, the belief that most people are good because we need it just to survive. Actually, in positions of power where there's great wealth, where there's great opportunity, where you can have whatever you want, imagine having a mindset where you just want to push the boundaries a little bit more and a little bit more. And then somebody is agreeing that that boundary can be pushed and providing you with opportunities to push those boundaries. Of course, you end up in scenarios where the most horrific, horrendous things happen. When it comes down to our media, for example, films like Hostel, etc., are made not because they're the stuff of imagination, they're the stuff of reality. If somebody can think of it, it will have happened, it will be. So I'm not surprised. The work I have done, the work I still do, it is always in this dark field. And whilst I think that most human beings are good to the most degree, there are some deplorable individuals. And more than that, there are deplorable individuals surrounded by people who will agree to give them whatever they want if the price is right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the thing is, it's not everyone. And you can tell who it is and isn't in these moments, okay? Because let's just remember, there are allegations, and again, they are allegations, that a former British Prime Minister engaged in some type of threesome, possibly involving Epstein, possibly involving Andrew. Now, compare and contrast that with Gordon Brown, a man whose politics I have always disagreed with, but who I think is a moral man. Because when it comes to this story, he is now urging the police to interview Andrew, not just over the misconduct in public office claims, but over the suggestion that he may have sex trafficked through UK airports. So don't you think, Emmy, you can start to tell who are the people who are complicit in this based on their reaction? And I think you can say Gordon Brown looks someone who I absolutely disagree with politically, don't think he did a good job as Prime Minister, but I don't think he's caught up in this. And I think he's absolutely right that the police should investigate. I've been saying all along, if you're innocent, you have nothing to hide. I mean, think about the police investigation into me. It was based on total spurious lies from people who hated me and wanted to destroy me. But I went through the investigation and I cleared my goddamn name. Andrew has to do the same. I've been saying that for years.
100%. And I also think it's very indicative of the kind of characteristics that certain individuals have within the media, for example, with big platforms, who've said nothing about things like this. They've said nothing about, shall we say, what's going on in Iran at the moment. They've said absolutely nothing about the horrific grooming that's gone on, where white working class girls, for the most part, were affected. They just keep stum. All they care about is, yes, their platforms, but also the power that they are entitled to because of the willingness to either agree with what's happening in those horrible situations or that they back people who are involved in those horrible situations. I think the silence is complicity. I genuinely do. And I think that that is one of the most devastating things in our society right now, that these terrible, horrific, horrendous things, some of which that I have had the great privilege of working with victims wise, that those individuals who've had power and opportunity have remained silent and allowed these things to play out. And when you think about Andrew, I don't think it will bring the monarchy down. I think for bizarre reasons, it's a bit like the BBC, you know, we don't need it, but we just keep having it traditionally. But I do think that it would be very wise to think about a new generation. And I definitely think that William and Kate would be that new generation. I think they're a whole world away from, shall we say, the more tainted area of the royals.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. And I do want to come back to that. But just before I do, Father Calvin, I just want to take you through what Gordon Brown has written today. It's in the New Statesman. I actually think it's astonishing. I don't think we can underestimate quite how significant it is a former Prime Minister going public to call on the police to investigate a former prince, the brother of the king, for sex trafficking. But that is exactly what he's done. He says police need to interview Andrew as part of a new probe into Epstein and his Lolita Express private jet. He said that women were moved from one Epstein plane to another at an airport in Essex. with evidence of incomplete flight logs that showed unnamed passengers were labelled as female and names of male passengers were also unknown. So these are Mr. Brown's words. In short, British authorities had little or no idea who was being trafficked through our country and for whom other than Epstein. I have been told privately that the investigations related to the former Prince Andrew did not properly check vital evidence of flights. I have asked the police to look at this as part of the new inquiry. The Stansted revelations alone require them to interview Andrew. Separately, a line of emails concerns the logistics of registering trafficked girls for English as a foreign language courses as a route to obtaining US visas. We need to know if and to what extent this was also happening in the UK. But again, Father Coven, I think there are so many revelations at the moment that it's easy sometimes to just forget about the significance of what's really going on here. This is a former Prime Minister suggesting that the police did not check vital evidence that could prove that Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor was involved in the trafficking of young women to this country. Young women who he potentially had sex with at palaces paid for by us. Now, you know I'm a monarchist, you know I'm a royalist, but we can't keep shoving this under the carpet for another day, or the royal family won't survive.
It's sick. It's beyond sick. It's the darkest of evil, what's been happening to these young children. And if the prince has anything to do with it, he needs to go down. And when we say heads must roll, I think actually in the biblical sense, we need to bring back hanging for pedophiles. But I don't think Gordon Brown is completely to clear his name too. You know, there have been implications of sexual abuse from him in the Epstein files. And not to forget, Peter Mandelson, the Prince of Darkness, was working for him as well as Tony Blair. And Jeffrey Epstein had a heads up that our gold was going to be sold from underneath our feet before we even knew. And so there's the financial side as well as the sexual side of corruption. They're all corrupt. All of them need to be investigated. Every single one of them. It's disgusting that they've been getting away with this. And I think it's good that it's finally being exposed, because we can see the rumors and the scandalous gossip that we'd heard for decades about the paedophilic liberal elite is actually true. And so now we need to put an end to it. We need to investigate all of them and put an end to it.
Oh, yeah, totally. And look, we were all just called conspiracy theorists, weren't we? You know, or derided with a term like QAnon. No, right. Satanic pedophiles are running the world. Just read the Gondab emails. And actually, you're right, Emma. We have William and Catherine who are sitting there who have wanted to go harder on this for a long time. I'm not at the stage of calling for the king to abdicate. I'm really not. But I absolutely understand why they need to have their position strengthened. And this is where I do want to provide a defence to Queen Elizabeth II. Because what I am seeing at the moment, Emma Kenny, is a lot of people in King Charles's orbit trying to throw Catherine and William under the bus, which is lunacy. I mean, literally, they have been calling on you to do this for years, Charles. So I don't know what that's about. But also throwing Queen Elizabeth II under the bus. But Emma, it just doesn't work with the facts. And remember, I was covering the royal family very closely during this whole period. And what happened, and it's, you know, for some people it's a bit inside baseball, but it really does matter, is that the guy who was running the royal family for the Queen was called Christopher Geit. And then Prince Charles and then Prince Andrew were involved in a coup to see Christopher Geit removed from his position to wrestle control of the British royal family, which they successfully did. Charles was running the show for this entire period. Can we just remember the late Queen Elizabeth II was in her 90s, Emma, and she was secretly suffering from a very aggressive form of cancer, which she wanted to hide from the public. So I really don't think it is fair at this point to start saying, oh, it was the late Queen's fault. Can I also remind everyone, she stripped Andrew, her beloved son, the son she loved the most, of all of his titles. She banned him from attending Sandringham at Christmas, for example. It was actually only once Charles took the throne that all of a sudden Andrew was back there at Christmas. All of a sudden Fergie was back there at Christmas. All of a sudden Andrew was at royal events. So I just don't like the rewriting of history. For me, Queen Elizabeth II was our greatest monarch of all time. And I don't think it's fair to blame her in this. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I agree, because first of all, she's dead, so she has no right of reply. And secondly, when it comes down to it, she worked until her death because she clearly didn't trust either of them to do anything positive for the country at the time. The reason that she literally died on the throne in such a state, and health-wise, is because of the fact that she felt that she had to carry on because she knew what she was doing and that she was going to be the best monarch that she could be. And I look now and I think to myself, if you're going to start throwing shade at her, well, where is your evidence? Yes, she did pay people off, but the reason that she did that was because she was trying to preserve the monarchy's reputation. So she felt that maybe if things could be done quietly, that doesn't mean that I validate doing those kind of things, but equally I have an understanding of it. She wanted the monarchy to continue. She wanted the reputation to be kept, and that was a deep problem for her. Like I said, for me, if people really wanted to save the monarchy, it would let William and Kate take over, because I genuinely think that they're a new breed. They look amazing. They come across well. They seem to want justice. And that's something that we definitely need in the UK. Like I said, one of the biggest problems for me at the moment is just watching that there's all this darkness out there. There's all this evidence out there. And yet still, I really struggle with the fact that people don't take it that seriously. I feel like people have been so drenched with this information, so made to feel that there is just a normalcy that this goes on, that people aren't reacting as strongly as they need to react. When Calvin starts talking about his reaction, that cerebral visceral reaction to things like child abuse and molestation, that's where I go, because as a typical well-adjusted adult, your main need is to protect children, to protect them at all costs. And right now it feels like people are just hearing this information, it's just going straight over their heads. And we need to stop that. We need to listen, we need to hear, we need to change, we need to move forward. Otherwise, what will be next? That's the big question.
Totally. We can't let them get away with it. Although, even more extraordinary perhaps, is the fact that Sarah Ferguson, Fergie, the former Duchess of York, already planning her comeback. And I knew she would do this because every single time she thinks she can get away with it. And she's now telling friends, I need to get back to work. I need money. I just want to take you through this exclusive reporting in the Daily Mail today, which reports globe-trotting Sarah Ferguson is plotting an astonishing comeback to public life, very much without her beleaguered ex-husband Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor. The former Duchess of York, it can be revealed, is lying low while she gets her head together, having recently spent a few days with friends in the French Alps. Oh, life is tough, isn't it? Before moving on to the United Arab Emirates. She has also been spending time with her youngest daughter, Eugenie, who has been in the region for work. However, far from issuing a public mea culpa over continuing revelations regarding her friendship with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, Ferguson understood to already be scouting around for a new PR team to represent her as she plans a return to the UK. Sources say she has openly told friends, I need to get back to work, I need money. Fascinatingly, she has also made it clear that this future does not include her ex-husband, despite once describing them as the happiest divorced couple in the world. She is now said to have told a friend, when I come back, I'm going to have to put some distance between myself and Andrew. It is understood she will not join him at his new home on the King's Sandringham estate and is planning to remain in the Windsor area. Her friends believe she is kidding herself if she thinks she can pick up where she left off and return to any kind of normal life. Emails between the ex-Duchess and Epstein show her repeatedly chasing him for money to pay off her debts, as well as practical support over a considerable period of time. They contain evidence she remained in close contact with him after he was released from prison for sex offences against children, even taking her two daughters, Eugenie and Beatrice, to have lunch with him 5 days after her release. Sarah now said to be deeply concerned about her two daughters, who have been dragged into the scandal by their parents. Wish she'd thought of that at the time, don't you? A source said Sarah is upset that their names have apparently been taken off the guest list for red carpet and charity events. Oh, good Lord. They just have no idea about the seriousness of this. Regarding her return to the UK, another source said, I don't know whether Sarah is just deluded or desperate. She is 66 and has no home and no discernible income. The public is disgusted by what they have read, and how would she pay a new PR team to rescue her reputation? She is said to be looking to bounce back in typical Fergie style. I'm just not sure the public will buy it. I mean, Father Calvin, we're not going to buy it this time, are we? You literally were joking with Jeffrey Epstein about Eugenie being off on a shagging party. You took your two young teenagers to see the pedo 5 days after he was released from prison. You sent him lots of pictures of Beatrice and Eugenie. I don't think there is a way back for Fergie this time, Father Calvin, do you?
No, I think there's we live in different worlds. I honestly think, I think what Emma was saying was right in that this is going above most people's heads because we've been desensitized to it. But it's the darkest evil that we can imagine, harming the innocents, young girls, and what's happened to them has been disgusting. But these people, the elite, they live in a different paradigm entirely. The fact that Fergie would be emailing Epstein, not just sending pictures of her daughters, but having conversations about her daughters having sex, which is, shagging around, which is just debauched. But also, her and Beatrice may have offended Epstein. There's an email from Sarah Ferguson, I hope we haven't offended you, after he'd been convicted. It's like, these people don't see paedophilia as wrong. They clearly, it's part of their norm. That's the scariest thing about all of this, that the rich and powerful, the elite, it's just ordinary to them. It's not, there's nothing dark about it. That's why we need to drain the swamp quite literally. Do we need an elite? What do we have an elite for?
No, we don't. We don't. I mean, the entire elite class needs to fall. And if they don't fall after the release of the Epstein emails, I don't think they ever will. Emma, I just wanted to show you a moment on Piers Morgan Uncensored last night, though, because I do find it really ironic that his show is titled that, yet he invited Lady Victoria Harvey on to humiliate her, to yell at her, to sort of engage in a circus. Didn't actually want to hear her point because she has been made to almost be the walking, talking personification of Andrew. Now, we know she's defended him for a long time. I really like Lady Victoria Harvey. I've had her on this show. That doesn't mean I agree with her on everything. I've debated her on Andrew lots. But I really don't understand the point of why you have a show called Uncensored, you invite a guest on, and then when she's saying things you don't like, you literally cut her microphone. She was just left like, blah, blah, blah. He didn't want to hear it. Anyway, I'll get your reaction, but I want to show you what happened first.
Down a conspiracy rabbit hole that is frankly repulsive.
I've always been right about my conspiracies. You were wrong about COVID and you were wrong about the vaccine fears.
You don't give a damn about these girls. You don't give a damn about these victims. You think it's fine to smear all of them. You admit it. You proudly admit it. And I think it's shameful.
Why would I feel sorry for people that are liars?
We now know from these documents just how disgusting this scandal is, and yet still you come on shows like this and you're still in total denial for reasons that completely baffle me.
Can we talk about the quality of girls? So Anushka DeGiorgio as an example. You know what she did? Like, this is the caliber of person we're talking about. Anushka DeGiorgio...
Actually, I'm not going to let you smear them. I'm sorry.
She was the girl that set up Tom Parker
No, I'm not going to let you do it. Sorry,
she did it. She did that long story.
I'm not letting you do it. I'm not letting you smear these victims anymore. I'm just not going to let you do it. Just cut her off. Ollie Dugmore.
Now, Emma Kenny, I'm pretty certain that you would disagree with Lady Victoria Harvey pretty strongly on this stuff. But is it right to invite her on the show, to platform her, so to speak, and then to cut off her microphone, given...
Well, not when you have the title of the show that he has. It's got a title that specifically suggests that you wouldn't be censored. So I'm really not somebody who likes that kind of irony. Also, what I would say, and why I understand sometimes the mindsets of those individuals who do live in denial. I have literally worked with children who've been sexually molested by their dad, and I've had to watch the mother reject the claims, and the mother genuinely rejects the claims, not because she believes that the child is some kind of deviant liar. They just believe that the child has got it wrong, and they know their husband, and the husband would never do A, B, or C. So I have literally witnessed people who, even when you show them the evidence from the police, from the hospital, from the CPS, when they decide to go to court with them, it just does not register, because they absolutely believe the relationship they had with that person is a relationship that no one else has in comparison. Therefore, they have a trust level with them, which means that no matter everybody else is shouting about the reality of it and the trust that's been broken, they are sticking with that person. So I think that she represents something important to hear, which is somebody that can be provided with all the evidence in the world who will still stand by somebody who is guilty. That is a very common feature in our society. And it's by listening to them and seeing how that delusion works and then helping them to break that delusion, shall we say, that actually we gain ground, momentum and change. And so cutting her off is stupid, it's childish, it's bullying, but I was blocked by Piers Morgan for once daring to suggest that he was being disrespectful to someone. That's all it took. One tweet, and that was it. I was vetoed. And I think that really marks the man. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Is this the moment Prince Andrew's legal nightmare finally escalates? Reports are calling it a bombshell update from police. And some say it could spell disaster not just for Andrew, but for King Charles and Prince William as well. Today, we break down what's actually happened, what's speculation, and whether jail is realistically on the table. Let's start with the language. Royal disaster. Bombshell. Could see him jailed. These are high-impact phrases. They imply urgency and immediate legal danger. But notice the word could. That's doing a lot of work. It suggests possibility, not confirmation. This is why we need to separate emotional framing from legal reality. So is this a royal disaster in motion, or another dramatic headline? What we know, Andrew remains controversial. The monarchy has distanced itself. Police statements are being closely watched. What we don't know, any confirmed criminal prosecution. Close. As always, the truth sits somewhere between silence and sensationalism. Let me know your thoughts below, and subscribe for balanced royal analysis.